Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another evening of classic entertaining racing action in the series we've all come to know and love. It is none other than the iRacing official Porsche Cup by CONSPIT, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing, and proudly sponsored and powered by none other than CONSPIT. We're here today for another strength-filled race, and it is week 9 of the 2026 Season 1 campaign. And having made our way through Italy for the last couple of rounds, we've made our way today back to the US of A, and back to your state of Florida for what is a circuit widely considered as the world centre racing. For it is none other than the Daytona International Speedway's road course that will be playing host to our drives today. And what a circuit we have in store. A road course consists of 3.56 miles in length and an eclectic mix of another 12 corners, marrying together the majority of the oval, but also bringing together a hairpin-packed infield section. Here's a circuit where slipstream and the ability to be late on the brakes and bolder your moves is going to be absolutely key. Who's going to be smart with the drive, and who exactly is going to be in the right place at the right time to take victory? That's what we need to find out today from our regular strength-fulfilled race on Saturdays in the 21:45 Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, or Universal Coordinate Time UTC time slot. But where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you all to this live broadcast from Circuit Side as you tune in tonight on the one and only place on YouTube. You can catch all this race in action on a weekly basis, and that is of course at none other than what is the Porsche Productions YouTube channel. Indeed, look for Porsche Productions or PWP on YouTube and you can be tuning in there. And if you are tuning in right now, don't be shy, feel free to say hi and let us know how you're doing tonight and what you're looking forward to most as all our drivers get ready to go racing. In terms of our schedule, well, we have a 15-lap race on the schedule in approximately 3.5 minutes time, and we'll be 5 to 10 this evening. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's not waste any time. Let's give a quick introduction to this week of racing and the story that has been set after our previous week. And as we can see then, taking a look to our schedule, last time out on the 7th of February, we were at the Imola circuit. Well, risk of rain, but the rain never materialised at the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo E. Dino Ferrari. But what did materialise there was some absolutely brilliant racing. Perhaps the biggest star of the show was none other than your winner of Gabriel Salomon, who in the end took pole position by almost 4 tenths over Giorgio Sergio, but was not allowed to run a race whatsoever because as he tried to lead the race, well, he had pressure from Adrian Reur's P4 start, quickly becoming a second place charge, and the two spent the entire race separated by less than half a second. However, Salomon was able to run away with the win in the end when it was a small mistake from Adrian Reur closing out the race, and Adrian Reur had to settle for second by comparison. But meanwhile, Giorgio Sergio in the end finished in third place, losing out in the opening lap to Adrian Reur, but he never spent his time too far from behind, although he did have a bit of a change from Al Kekanovic right towards the very end of the race until Kekanovic made a mistake of his own. But with slowdowns are plenty there, here today at Daytona we may see some slowdowns of our own for our drivers, and who exactly is going to be leading the way come the end of today, well, that's what we're going to find out. And in terms of where we are next time out, we stay in the US state of Florida, but we'll be making our way southward, and we're making our way all the way to the Sebring International Speedway on the 21st of February. Indeed, the state of Florida, very popular for the season, and we're not going to question it. But as we come into this week of racing, how do the standings stand in the Division 1 of the iRacing Official League? Well, what we can see here is Oscar Bernson leads the way on 593 points. It's hotting up at the top, and he does have now a 101 point advantage over Nikolai Melder, who sits in second. It's now further what is 58 points to Amel Kekanovic, and outside your top 3, 34 points behind them, it's Alan Rask ahead of Joel Malquad, and then outside the top 5, it's Daniel Perez Sanchez ahead of Aaron Jones, with Michael Martins, Zach Phelps, and Heidi Nomamasi completing your top 10. But then, as we talked about our circuit for today, well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Daytona International Speedway's road course, 3.56 miles in length, 5.72 kilometers, depending on your preference of units, but regardless of whether you're imperial metric, you will see that it's 12 corners every step of the way. Bringing together the oval banking, over 90% of it, and then in the oval being only broken up by the entry into the infield and the exit of it, of which when we do see our drivers make the way through the infield section of turns 1 through to 7, it's going to be the horseshoe hairpins at turns 4 and 6 that really will separate what will be the best of the breakers. We do have the fast kink at turn number 5 as well, and also the exit at turn number 7 that can always outfox those who are a little bit too eager to return to the throttle, and also the other interruptions to the oval banking will be the bus stop chicane, renamed to Le Mans, but many drivers would say they'll always refer it to the bus stop chicane at turns 9, 10, 11, before they charge their way back onto the oval banking to complete lap and do it all over again, or see that finish line flag. But as for our rules for today, there is a small rule change that you need to be aware of. Now, setup-wise, this is the open setup variant of the iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT, so therefore I try and bring a setup of their choosing to each and every race session. The grid, as always, will be set by a closed qualifying session, which is coming to a close. But it's how we start the racing today that is different. We will be commencing via a rolling start rather than our traditional standing start, and that's because we are going racing at Daytona, and a standing start on the banking would be too dangerous, given the fact the car's height on the outside would gradually gravitate downwards. However, what stays the same as well is that drivers shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 17 or more instant points. Get to 25, they will be disqualified. But without further ado, let's make our way back to the circuit then, shall we? And see how they're all getting on with this qualifying session coming to a close. Well, not too many drivers right now have got long left in this qualifying session with less than 1.5 minutes. And as we do see them making their way around right now, we do look to what is there, your number 23 driver, currently 20th of Henry Howarth, who right now is hoping for a little bit more here. And indeed, we have a strength of field today that's a slight improvement on the last couple of weeks of 4,546. Daytona always does bring a few more drivers to its venerable tarmac, and Howarth then moves up to 11th in his final qualifying lap. We also do have out there right now MS Sonmez, and we do see the Rothmans Porsche livery tribute. Indeed, that's a throwback there to the older era of Porsche machinery, particularly the Porsche 962s, if I remember correctly, of the 1980s, I want to say, in their Group C machinery. Well, right now, Sonmez making his way on around, but 9 at 21st is not where he wants to be, but he is on a personal best right now. Can he find a couple of attempts there to leap himself at least ahead of Owen Lund? Perhaps can he even get a bit further inside the top 15? Can he perhaps get ahead of Alex Kayon? We're about to find out as he crosses the line, and well, Sonmez in the end moves into what will be 14th there, so he does achieve what we mentioned, and he'll be very pleased with that, as then we do have one last driver to go in the all-pink, what is Roxy machine there. That's a tribute to the AO Racing livery, and that's going to be Ivan Rodchenkov, and well, Rodchenkov makes his way to that line with 10 seconds left. Is he going to make it? Yes, he will. Where is this going to put him at the end of the qualifying session, ladies and gentlemen? The answer is going to be, and in fact, it is a valid lap. It's 20th place and in perfect time as well, because without further ado, it's time to head to the grid and see how they all line up for our one and only strength field race in week number 9 of the iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT. And so as they all make the way to the grid, this is how our drivers will start the day in the office. It is going to be none other than Daniel Sanchez, who lines up on pole position, the Spaniard just ahead of Felipe de Souza from Brazil, the gapping in 3/10 of a second. Then we'll have Harry Bartels starting third, the British driver ahead of his fellow countryman of Harrison Scott. And well, then it'll be Sebastian Bach, who starts in 5th place there, the Arctic Simsport by Drup driver from Denmark. And keep your eyes out from, of course, in what will be Monday in the iRacing presented none other than the Danish F4 Esports Championship. We do see him being joined on the third row of the grid by none other than Chris Prout, the New Zealand driver there, the Kiwi, then being followed up by a further attempt to none other than what is Rocco Krubel. The German driver will be joined on the fourth row of the grid by Simon Sigurdsson, with the RS Competition Esport driver then seeing the top 10 round out behind him by the combination of René Sandoval, the Rebellion GT3 driver in the company of Rafael Pinheiro. Then from 10th place to 11th, it is going to be Henry Howarth, and the gap in the end was not even a 10th. He'll be in the company of the Uruguayan driver there of Santiago Aguiar, and then from them it will be none other than Lewis Goff starting 13th ahead of MS Sonmez, and the Turkish driver left it all to the very close of the session, but he got the job done in the end. He will then be followed up by Harry Yardley Rose, who will then have the company of Alex Kayon. On row at number 9, it is going to be Adrian Korenziowski, the Polish driver being joined by the Argentinian there of Bruno Ciccolio, and then we do have round off your top 20, Andrei Nasuti ahead of Ivan Rybachenkov with that late improvement in qualifying. Then we do have outside the top 20, starting in 21st place, it is going to be Jack Grunewald, the Australian driver there from Passion Sim Racing, just ahead of Owen Lund, and then Ewan Langley and Gabriel Gedil will round off the 12th row of the grid, and then starting last but not least, with no lap set and the car currently in the pit lane, it's been towed to the pits, it is going to be Philip Varleman, the German driver in the number 10, who'll be 25th of all your starters. Well, the formation lap gets underway, ladies and gentlemen, as they all gradually tiptoe their way on through what we the run there of the bus stop chicane. Well, we can see Daniel Sanchez right now leading that field on through, albeit as he gets himself set and Felipe de Souza with him. The tries absolutely itching and raring to go. And keep in mind, of course, we are on the formation lap right now, but we will see that pace car pull away in due order, and it will be to Sanchez to set the running order, and they will go green. That is cool, but as all the field tips its way along, they won't be used to this, given the fact they had standing starts all the way through the season. It is purely for safety concerns we're seeing a rolling start here at Daytona. But as we do say hello there to Fabian HD in the YouTube chat, who's expecting a bit of chaos in this race today. We'll have to wait and see whether that rings true. Good evening to you, good sir. That's Fabian Ming. a long-time participant, of course, in the iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT, and also regular on the grid for the strength field races, particularly in 2025. We hope you're doing well, and here we go, ladies and gentlemen, because down to trackside cameras we look, and Daniel Sanchez gets ready to take us to the green for 15 laps of racing. And there he goes. It is lights out, away we go here at Daytona for the Week 9 Strength and Field race. All drivers get themselves away, and Daniel Sanchez catches out the rest of the field as they make their way into the opening braking zone. Hard on the brakes for the first time. ABS lights are going to be lighting up very quickly as they all make their way down. And, well, as they make their way into the braking zone, who's going to get it right? A couple of drivers go a little bit deep there, including the Roxy machine, but they're all safely through turn number 1. Now in towards the horseshoe hairpin. This is where things will get interesting. A bounce over the curb there at turn number 3. Now to Sebastian back, but he gets it back together as Philippe de Souza looks on close behind. A bit further back there, we've got 2-3 whites making their way through. Oh, a little bit of contact there as the number 12 of Andre Nasuti is sent sideways, but he's able to get it back together. And meanwhile, Simon Sigurdsson under pressure from Rocco Cribel. Two wide to come into the kink there, and Indian Harrison Scott is going to be able to pull away a little bit as those two fight. But here comes Sandoval looking around the outside, coming lunging in from a long distance back. And well, by going deep there, he's going to lose a bit of momentum. And as they make the way up towards what we turn number 7, it's been a clean start to this race, no doubt about it. Well done to our drivers. It has gone a bit wrong for one drive further back, but otherwise they've all made their way safely through it. At this point, I've almost put the commentator's curse on this, have I not? But as these drivers now make the way on to banking, well, immediately it goes a bit wrong there. That's very sideways to other drivers. And that, I believe, is none other than Rafael Pinheiro, who goes wrong, but he gets himself back together now, gets himself pointed on the right direction. But back to the front of the field, your two leaders are pulling away. Daniel Sanchez, the pole sitter, and who got that great start. He's got Harry Bartle for close company, and Bartle is trying to push him along. You can see de Souza and back and Prout now all following on through the chicane. But further back there, we've almost got two wides going on. Simon Sigurdsson is trying to pull away from Cribel and Sandoval. And well, those two fight each other hard. We've got Carl squirming left, right and centre. I think some have gone a bit wide. Prout in particular going high there to burn what will be an automated slowdown for track limit. And well, by going to the high line there, he'll essentially build up momentum when he drops back down. And also, it's the safest way to burn it. Going low and burning it is very risky and also considered to be ungentlemanly behaviour. But as all drivers make their way through onto the flat here, this is going to get 3 wide in the mid-pack. As meanwhile, got one car splashing back, I think, who's made his way into the pit lane. It's been something that's gone wrong for him. But meanwhile, these drivers coming down to the braking zone now to lap number 2. And in the end, it is going to be Lewis Goff at the front of this group as Keon goes a little bit deep. And in the end, Santiago Aguiar moves up forward. The Argentine driver making steady progress with Goff, as right now Keon has Sommes, Prout and Ticoli all behind him. But here comes what is Ticoli looking around the outside. He can't find it. As Sommes and Prout going battling here, coming out of the horseshoe hairpin. And right now, the number 25 driver, your lowest rated driver in this split. He's definitely enjoying a very good run right now, and definitely is going to be improving his iRating come the end of this one if he finishes where he currently is. Getting ready now in towards the braking zone. We've had a few slowdowns. We've also had a few cars get damaged on the open lap and have to tow to the pit lane or make the way. And we'll get a replay of what's happened to them in due order. And we'll try and understand what exactly has gone wrong, because it hasn't gone perfectly right for everybody. But right now, here we go. A bit of side-by-side action here. That's Lewis Goff trying to hold on versus what is Santiago Aguiar and Keon. Keon looking one way than the other. But right now, it does seem as though Goff holding on firmly. Back to your leaders. They're still trying to work together to move away, and this is where they'll be using a thing called bump drafting for the uninitiated. The idea is the car behind is essentially pushing the car in front very gently, just approaching and by 1 to 2 miles an hour behind, and giving the lead car a little tap on the rear bumper. And the idea is to try and transfer some straight line speed onto it because of the slipstream effect. And the idea being, if you keep doing that, you will naturally create a gap. And your top 3, they are now almost a whole second away from Harrison Scott involved, with Philippe de Souza right now really playing the wingman of this group. And I think understandably he's quite happy with the speed in the car, and he just wants to stay close when he can. Meanwhile, Harrison Scott here is at risk of being forced to go backwards to Simon Sigurdsson and also Rocco Cribel. But further back from them, we do say Renee Sandoval still pushing on here versus Kikoli, as these two make their way onto the flat. And as they get ready in towards turn 1 on what will be a 3rd lap of asking, we'll look a little bit further back here to Andre Nasuti. But everyone right now definitely getting entrenched into each other, as Alex Cowan up the inside there of Lewis Goff. They swap the places on around, but this might be all posturing right now. Of course, it's very hard to sometimes tell when it's just a switcheroo versus when it's true fighting. And at Daytona, knowing the difference between the two is the difference between victory or finishing runner-up. So as they come out of the horseshoe hairpin right now, Keon ahead of Goff, and Lewis Goff having to now wait his opportunity to come back, as Daniel Sanchez making sure that Bartle there, who's looking around the outside, Harry Bartle, I think trying to signal, which is I want the race in line. I don't think Daniel Sanchez is reading it that way, and Philippe de Souza, meanwhile, is watching this, and both ways right now. Philippe de Souza, I think, just enjoying and rubbing his hands together in the cockpit. He can't take his hands off the wheel, but imagine he is doing so. I think thinking to himself, great, they don't quite understand each other right now. This is perfect for me. I may be able to thread the needle. But we're going to quickly thread our way back in time to understand what happened early on in the race for a few drivers. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here's a replay of the lap 1 incident. Now, this is what happened down in towards Horseshoe, coming through turns 2 and 3. We're looking at Gabriel Gadil in particular. And, the duck and delivery number 20 coming loose there. That was Owen Lund. Oh, my good Lord. And in the end, that was Gadil being sent straight into the Horseshoe hairpin, collecting the number 19 there of Ivan Ribachenkov. And also, we did see there a collection of what was Grunewald as well. So that explains why they've had to retire their cars to the pit lane after that big contact. And, well, a small innocent mistake there. And then it all went very much wrong. But meanwhile, back to your live race we come. And as we do, Andre Nasuti versus Henry Howarth. These two continue to push each other onwards. As meanwhile, Harry Bartle is into the pit lane. So Bartle, for some reason, has had to come on in. We're not quite sure exactly why. I wonder whether potentially he has put the wrong fuel in the car. That's the only reason I can imagine right now. The same for Sebastian Bach, who made his way into the pit. I think both drivers may have been started on qualifying fuel. And if so, well, it's an embarrassing thing to do, but even the very best do it. But we see a swap there as Nasuti going up the inside and Howarth going way too deep at turn number 1, and they swap the places on around. So we had a couple of cars going to the pits unexpectedly, but Buck is out there right now trying to hold it together, and well, I can imagine that Bart will make his way onwards when he can. But meanwhile, we do see Bruno Ciccoli here. He's still holding off Sandoval and Prout as we look behind your number 8 car in 9th place. Now run the way down into that braking zone. Well, here comes a bit of a move from the carbon fibre tribute livery. As we do see Sandoval there, making sure to use an offensive defence, which is that Chris Prout is looking one way then the other. Prout right now doesn't quite have the pace to be able to make the move, because what Sandoval is simply doing is saying to him, well, if you want to make a place, I am busy fighting, thank you very much. I am not paying any attention to you. And therefore Prout right now will be thinking to himself, right, I've got to find a bit of a better way to get on past right now, because this is not working. But as these drivers make the way onto the other bank in this time, my understanding, Ciccoli is just going to simply stay on the low line here. And we'll go defence a little bit, or will he not? No, there'll be a small bump draft there from Sandoval, trying to say to him right now, please carry on as you're doing, Bruno. I'm not planning to fight you. We need to get a bit closer to Aguirre and Goff and Keon, and therefore we can open up with this 3-way fight for 9th into a 6-way fight for 6th. Meanwhile, back towards the very front of the field, where we're still seeing where's Daniel Sanchez and Felipe de Souza push each other along. And of course, the loss of Bartle in particular has meant this has now turned into what was a 2-horse race. But in fact, now Harrison Scott is back with them, and Simon Sigurdsson and Rocco Krubell are almost there as well. So therefore, we could have a 5-way fight for the lead going on by the end of this race. We are only on to lap number 5. We've got plenty of distance to cover, but this race keeps us guessing right now. As further back, Owen Lund here in the Duckham's delivery machine, the car that triggered off the contact, some would say, albeit that's what it looked like on the cameras. We're not 100% certain, so therefore we're not going to blame him for that instant. And Owen Lund, of course, right at the heart of what was the instant with none other than Gabriel Gadil right at the start of the race, but his car still able to carry on here as he does make the place on Ewan Langley up into 15th. His next target will be Henry Howarth, who right now is a further 4.5 seconds up the road. As he focuses on the here and now, and of course you can't let any clouds from early on the race simply linger over you, as they'll distract you from the racing that is to come. Well, for Lund right now it's going to be a challenging task, because he needs a lot of pace in the car, and he started 22nd, but right now your number 20 driver understand he wants to finish even higher than this to move his way up. But looking to Bruno Ciccoli, as we do see our number 8 driver here on the back now firmly of Guia, and also Goff and Keon. So these two groups have been merged together. Well, now these 6 drivers, we all hoping they can perhaps catch up to the top 5, but that might be a little bit of a harder task. The man at the heart of the top 5, in terms of whether we'll be able to join the dots together, those packs, to make it what would then be an 11-car pack for the lead. It's Rocco Krubell, your 5th place driver, who right now 7/10 off of Simon Sigurdsson, who you'll see go through the camera shortly. There you go, your top 4, and then there's your 5th place man. And then there's Alex Keon, who is looking very quick through the bus stop chicane. He is pushing hard as Keon, and understandably in your number 1, he may not have qualified well. He started 16th, but his mission right now is a simple one. Get to the back of Krubell, get within tow distance, and if you can, then you will be able to go chasing after the podium, and he's doing exactly that very well. Guillaume had a bit of a poor run through the chicane after battling with Lewis Goff, but in the end, well, Goff has lost out to a degree, and understandably right now he falls back to the 8th place as Guillaume moves forward. But meanwhile, to the front of the field we go, and this is a look around the outside from Harrison Scott. He's going to try and do both of them in one go in the Komatsu car, and in the end Daniel Sanchez says no. Felipe de Souza here says let's go too wide, and right now Harrison Scott in the end didn't quite work out. De Souza goes defensive here down to the horseshoe hairpin, and that's saying to Harrison Scott essentially, Harrison, don't do it, it's not worth it. But right now Harrison Scott is definitely thinking he wants to be the 2nd place man, if not the leader. I think he feels as though he has got the pace to lead this race and potentially now start to open up the gap. And that's the thing, when you're further down in this order and you suddenly see the rest of the field is catching up, it is not a comfortable place to be. A few drivers I've spoken to over the course of this week have said to me, you never want to be car free or downwards in a long pack, because then you are at risk of essentially being the part of the pack that splinters pointers away. The best place you want to be in is car number 2 in the group, which is Felipe de Sousa right now, because you have the leader the slipstream off of. That keeps you safe from the guys behind, but it also means that the leader never leaves you behind unless you make a mistake. Now, of course, that doesn't rule out that de Sousa could make a mistake at any point. Any one of these drivers could, but it's the least pressure position being number 2. The leader, of course, Daniel Sanchez, he has the pressure of the fact he has to control this group and make sure he tries to essentially get them all to follow his lead. It's not always easy here because every driver has an ego of their own and they all got something to prove at some point in the race. But right now, at least Daniel Sanchez getting things right, and Felipe de Sousa is happy with the way he's managing things. A bit further back, we've got a freeway fight going on here for Halworth, Nasuti and Lund as they're all scrambling around, but in fact that's Nasuti at the back of this group. My apologies, it's Sonmez, Halworth and Nasuti. They're fighting over 12th place here, and then we do have Ewan Langley making his way past Owen Lund, who's taking a bit of an escape route, and he's going to rejoin with a slowdown penalty out of the bus stop. But back to lead as we go, and Sanchez right now side by side with de Sousa as they make their way into the opening corner braking zone for the 7th time of asking. And de Sousa going very high and wide this time. He's going to try and go all the way around the outside. The answer is going to be no, as Harrison Scott meanwhile now on the inside here. This is going to be a golden opportunity for Scott to go for the move here for second place, but he takes a lot of curb there at turn number 3. That's very dangerous to do in these machines. They make their way down to the braking zone. De Sousa goes a little bit deep. Here comes Sigurdsson. He gets very good traction on the inside. Sigurdsson gets ahead there of Scott. Now can he outrun what will be de Sousa to the next braking zone with Ryan on board? Well, he does have what will be none other than Scott in his inside has to lift off there through the kink. It's flat out single file but not double file, and these drivers right now fighting hard. Your number 13 trying to go all the way around the outside to defend the position, and Simon Sigurdsson right now just doing everything right or thereabouts as he gets the power down, makes his way in towards turn number 7, but Scott's back on his inside. The fighting intensifies. They roll the way back onto the oval, and you can see there Krubel behind watching on. Keon and also we are all catching up now back onto the banking, and we're almost the halfway point of this race right now, and the tempo is not dropping. It is building, and good news elsewhere off camera, we do have a couple of the cars that were afflicted at the start of the race at that instant, particularly Rybachenkov. He is now back out there. He is multiple laps down, but he has got the car repaired, so we will see him finish this race hopefully. Otherwise we have lost Goodell, Pinheiro and also Yardley Rose, who are all caught up in the open lap altercation. But as our lead pack right now continues to grow, it is 11 cars separated by a grand total of 4.2 seconds, if that. Nobody right now is backing off here, and this is really building up to be an absolute classic at Daytona. But we'll see what else is to come here. Will anybody fracture this group? Chris Prout pushing Savall down the order, or in fact pushing him up the order I should say, as he tries to move him onwards. He's on the back of him right now, and Prout here trying to do Sandoval a favour, which is to move him a little bit closer to Coley, and also Lewis Goff 4 attempts behind here watching on. But here comes Prout looking low as Sandoval goes high there, lifts off the throttle nice and early, and Sandoval decides to let the car run all the way around and says to Prout, you can have it. I don't want to be pushed along. I'd rather let me push you along instead. But I think both these drivers right now have got different ideas of pushing and shoving. As they make their way down through the hairpin here, looks like they're going to absolutely restore the order right now, and there will be no change other than that singular place. So back to the front, and we look back from the rear of your race leader overall, and right now Daniel Sanchez, well, the lap times continue to come in. He's not the fastest driver out there, understandably, given the fact he has no slipstream to work with, but he's definitely putting on a very good turn of pace. And the pressure right now will definitely be huge. But of course, all the fighting will come down to the last couple of laps. That's where we'll suddenly see what is quite a peaceful running order right now descend into proverbial chaos. But that's the way it works at Daytona. You're not racing to win the race on the opening lap, nor in the middle of the race. You are positioning for 90% of the race, and it's the last couple of laps which really become important. The final lap, of course, could be a drag race to the finish line. It could be a photo finish, which is what typically happens in these sprint races. Right now, at least, everybody is building up for that, as we do see de Sousa get a little bit closer, going on through the chicane once again. But I think Felipe de Sousa right now taking the full process, which is we are never breaking away. Sanchez there gets it very wrong coming out of the chicane, bouncing over the exit curb. And in doing so, well, that's going to cost a bit of momentum. De Sousa goes high. Now, he will be too wide. De Sousa will gradually get a nose ahead here. But, of course, he has no wider circumference. So, as they make their way along, Harrison Scott comes up behind and says to Daniel Sanchez, go on, Daniel, I'm putting my faith in you. And right now, Scott, I think he wants revenge versus De Sousa. Fair revenge, that is, to get back ahead of him. And we'll stand on the Daniel Sanchez, he's going to get that. Felipe de Sousa going so high. Is he going to lose more places here? Because here's Scott. Here comes Sigurdsson as well. But De Sousa tries to go all the way round. And the answer is going to be too wide on exit. Scott and De Sousa together, elbows out between these two. Keep it clean, guys. And as they make their way up towards turn number 4, De Souza defends with a big lunge up the inside. Sigurdsson goes all in and it turns De Souza around. He goes around on the side of Scott's car and in the end they both survive it, but they both get relegated down the order. So Simon Sigurdsson in the end throws a grenade into the mix there. It blows up in their faces and Sigurdsson moving into second, and in the end we'll have De Souza and Scott both going deep into the corner as a result of Sigurdsson's lunge. And well, you couldn't make out, ladies and gentlemen, they've all survived it, but it's completely turned this pack upside down. And right now Chris Prout fights around the outside of De Souza here, trying to make this place up even more. Well, he's going to defend on the inside in towards turn number 7, and De Souza right now surely has got to let this go as Rene Sandoval in the all black machine there decides to try and get involved as well. He puts his nose into the mix and De Souza says to him it doesn't belong there, and Rene Sandoval is saying, well, I know where my nose belongs, you don't have to worry about that. He tucks into the toe here of what is Chris Prout, and De Souza right now has been sent all the way down the order. They all survived it. Brilliant driving from all. That is absolutely brilliant racing, albeit right on the limit of what's legal, and in the end, well, they've all just about kept it together. And as they make their way in towards what will be the bus stop chicane this time, long pack of cars once more, but the key theme is they are all separated by 4.1 seconds. They continue to be separated by 4.1 seconds as Rene Sandoval gets it wrong, and meanwhile, as he goes high, so does Philippe De Souza with a slowdown penalty, and that slowdown penalty could be the end of his run inside this top group for now. He's going to have to burn that gradually. How quickly can he get rid of it without losing pace? And the answer is not quickly, as he continues to fall back. He might have the coattails of the toe of a Sandoval's car. We will wait and see. But meanwhile, back to the fight for second through to fourth, and as we can see, Sanchez right now being allowed to run away. As Simon Sigurdsson meanwhile now acts as a little bit of a cork in the bottle here. He's stopping everybody from catching back up to Sanchez. I don't think this is intentional teamwork. I think Simon Sigurdsson right now wanted second, and in turn what it's now actually meant is the fact that he's lost some pace to the leader. Yellow flag, meanwhile, that is for Rocco Crabell for track limits. Now, where exactly does he pick that up? He would have run deep at turn number 1. The track limits have been revised as one of the most recent updates here on iRacing to make sure that drivers cannot use the esports line as it was nicknamed, where they went intentionally wide at turn number 1 onto the runoff area. Elbows out there, that's going to send Crabell wide onto the grass, onto the runoff area. He does get it stopped. Well done to Rocco Crabell. I think that was contact there with none other than Alex Cowan, unless I'm mistaken. And Crabell rejoins, and he serves his slowdown, and he falls back into the group. Is this going to be free wide for a brief moment? My good lord! And in the end, that's getting very firm between Aguirre and Prout. Meanwhile, big dive at the inside there from Rene Sandoval, and how they're all managing this without making major contact, I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing right now, all these drivers are keeping us guessing. Well, my heart rate's not going to do very good. My doctor said my blood pressure is already high enough doing these broadcasts on a weekly basis, and he meant that as a compliment, I think. But right now, I can feel my blood pressure go through the roof. But I'm not going to complain, ladies and gentlemen. Screw the doctor's orders. We're loving every moment of this. But as they roar the way down towards where's the bus stop chicane this time, well, right now we're seeing this field fracture a little bit. Our leader, Daniel Sanchez, he'll be hoping that Simon Sigurdsson can just hold everyone up a little bit longer, because he's almost got a 1 second gap here, and Sigurdsson meanwhile in that second place, but Alex Cowan being brought along. Well, then Bruno Giacoli is in fourth, and Giacoli is falling back a little bit as well. But what we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, we need to take a quick look back at what was the big moment only moments ago, where we did see Simon Sigurdsson make that huge move, and here's the replay to explain. So this was at the start of lap number 9. He was the fourth man in this group. But you can see there, De Souza battling hard with Scott. And then as they came out to the corner, the door on the inside was well open. And in fact, he lunged a little bit late on the brakes there and tapped the rear of De Souza once and then tapped it twice. So I think there will be some question marks about that move, particularly from De Souza's perspective. And Sigurdsson, I think there, misanticipated his braking zone and having to convert what was a late brake into an unexpected attack into the corner. And that's what reshaped the field. But then we did have, separate to that, was an incident for Andre Nasuti. This was outside of his top 11. This was the fight for what was at the time, I do believe, 12th through to 14th. And on the inside here in the number 12 car, battling hard with the 25 and collected there by the 25 of what was Emir Sonmez. And in that sense, him spinning on around. And then we did have this big moment only months ago for Rocco Crabell, where he survived this contact with the number 4 of Santiago Aguirre. And well, 2 wide they made the way into the kink. And in the end, Aguirre carried a bit too much speed, hit the curb, and that sent Crabell wide. But well done to Rocco Crabell for this. Got it stopped nicely on what was the cut course inside layout. And in the end was able to avoid essentially becoming a missile into the rest of the field. But back to live racing we come, and as we do, all the drivers right now, they've definitely been on the limit, and well, chaos has yet to completely truly unfold, but I think right now we are still waiting for the storm. This is the calm before the storm, and I'll tell you one thing, if this is calm right now, I don't imagine what the storm's going to be like. We know that the US state of Florida has been beset by storms in recent years. That has led to delays, for example, to the 24 Hours of Daytona and even to other race events, but at least for now, all the drivers definitely making sure they're not building up a Floridian storm here in the Sunshine State. But here they come then, roaring the way on down. Only another 4 laps to go. And Daniel Sanchez right now, he's done an incredible job of really leading and controlling this race. But Alex Keon now, having cleared Sigurdsson on the previous lap, he now wants a piece of the pie here, but Keon's not going to be given an easy opportunity. And Sanchez trying to say to him, well, if you want it, come get it. Hold up a second. We've lost somebody. Where on earth is San Diego Aguirre? Here he is. He makes way back on. He's been escorted off the road there. I think there's been some contact. And suddenly he drops out of the running order in your top 10. He's dropped to 11th place here, and he's almost within reach for Henry Howarth. How exactly has that happened? We can get a quick replay to explain. So this was where Griot in the number 4 made his way to the brain zone. Contact with number 6. That would have been at the best part of 170 plus miles an hour. The 6 tap in the rear. That was Chris Prout making his way on down. And in the end, just small taps to the difference there. Not to say that Prout did it intentionally, but you do have to wonder exactly what triggered it. Can we get the on board with Chris Prout? I think we might be able to. There was a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen, as I think our replay has just glitched out. Here we go. And as they make the way on down, Prout tucks the inside low. He would argue that potentially his rival did come down a bit too soon on him, but I think Prout there had the door closed on him to a degree. It's a very tricky one to call, to be fair, and I think there's a good number of camera angles you'd need for that. But meanwhile, we do come back to your live racing. We still got more racing to come here, and Aguirre right now trying to pick himself back up, as meanwhile, René Sandoval battling with Lewis Goff. Goff, meanwhile, making his way up the inside there. The Roxy machine immediately tucking him through it, and Sandoval letting it go. But I think he's really got his brain switched on here and deciding he doesn't want to fight too hard. What he wants to do instead is just simply let the places swap back and forth and make sure he doesn't lose the leaders, of which Harrison Scott now is at a risk of losing the leaders and also losing the pack behind him. He's 1.2 seconds ahead of Chris Prout behind, but he's 1 second behind Bruno Ciccoli in front. So the top 4 may be running away with this to a degree, albeit will they be with only 3 laps left, including this one, because Daniel Sanchez right now still controlling the pack, but Alex Cowan and Simon Sigurdsson are all behind. And then we do have Bruno Ciccoli here trying to really bridge the gap to the 5th place man of Scott. Well, further back, but let's not forget the fact we've got some battling going on. Owen Lund looking up the inside here of Philip Varleman, and Varleman, of course, having started from the very back of the field, now defending on the outside here in the Red Bull livery, but the Duckham's machine, which is giving us a throwback there to the BTCC Ford era cars, well, in the end, Owen Lund will hold that on, and holding it to 17th place there in the number 20 ahead of Varleman, and he's trying to chase down to Ewan Langley and also Nasuti and Gronwald. We'll see what's become of them. We just see Jack Gromrold right now. He started all the way back in 21st. He's had a bit of a happy race after a difficult start at turn number 4 in the opening lap. But he's got things back together right now. And as they say, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And he's definitely looking to try and finish on a positive. As meanwhile, Lund and Varleman go side by side here in towards the second horseshoe. And in the end, Varleman on that inside line, but Lund fighting all the way around. Classic and fair racing between these two, and Lund's going to try and now hold it to the inside of 7. Varleman's still going around. He would think they'd rehearse this with how well they're running together. Not quite so. They're just enjoying the battling. But from then, we come back to the front of the field because here's Daniel Sanchez. 2 more laps to go. Once he clears the next double bank in, he is still with Keon, Sigurdsson and Ciccoli. That's your top 4. And then we do have that 0.8 second gap to Harrison Scott, who's still holding a 1.2 second gap to Chris Prout behind. René Sandoval still fighting with Lewis Goff here. They continue to switch back and forth. But I think right now Sandoval really investing all his attention in the rear of the number 14 and trying to push it a bit further as they try to get themselves closer and closer to the top 4 group. But right now it's not proving too easy. Sanchez, meanwhile, penultimate lap time, and well, what you see going high there, that is going to be Ciccoli trying to go all the way around the outside. He gets on past Sigurdsson there. A lovely bit of braking, but can he confirm it coming through 2 and 3? The answer is no. They go too wide now in towards the S, and as they get ready to go into the hairpin, well, surely Ciccoli here is going to push it all the way out the inside. He does, leans into the ABS. He will get that stop, so I believe there's been an incident for Emir Gomez, and in the end, Emir Somnes, I should say. Gomez, they've been a completely different name and a completely different sport, but right now, Ciccoli looking around the outside. Well, he's still trying to fight with Sigurdsson, but this is going to cost them time. Oh my good lord, and that was a big lunge coming out to the corner from Harrison Scott, and in the end, I think tapping the rear Simon Sigurdsson, who got ejected outside. It was cut off by the camera there, but in the end, Sigurdsson collected it together just in the nick of time, but Harrison Scott going all in for that one. Can we get a replay of that? Because that was absolutely bold, brash and aggressive there from Scott. It may have in fact worked. We're not 100% certain, and well, a replay will tell us that immediately. Here we go, a quick look back. This was Scott making his way through. So the 2 in front were fighting, and then Scott made his way into the corner, and the over speed he picked up here and slightly tapped the rear of Sigurdsson's car, sent Sigurdsson wide, and for Harrison Scott, he carried all the momentum forward. So they're not the cleanest of moments, but to be fair, they all survived it, and that's what matters most right now as we are heading closer and closer towards the finish of this one. We're not going to quite get a replay of what exactly happened to Sonmez, but I do believe he had a bit of an off at turn number 1 and almost end up cutting his way all the way back onto the oval. However, he has returned to the natural racing lines. That's all these drivers coming around right now. Well, one more to go, and your top 2 right now, 7 tenths clear of the rest of the field. Daniel Sanchez leads. He's led every lap of this race. Can he lead one more? The final lap, the most important one. Or Alex Cayon from 16th place steal away the win? We're about to find out, because here they come into turn 1. Your top 2 together, and the rest of the field now catch it up, and Sanchez trying to hold on for just that little bit longer. Through the corner we go, and as they do, you can see everyone line astern right now. The field has bunched right back up again. We do have a grand total of 10 cars separated by 4 seconds, all vying for the podium spots and the all-important win. But coming out of turn number 4 right now, Sanchez doing everything right, and at this point, Alex Cayon, all he needs to do is stay this tight to the back of the leader all the way to the end of the bus stop chicane, and then it will be the drag race to the finish. But then he's got to time it absolutely right. He's got to time his distances from that point onwards. So for now, it's all about positioning, and everyone behind Cayon will be looking at him thinking, I need to be number 2. I do not want to be number 3, 4, or wherever I am right now. He's the man you want to be. But as I come in towards turn 7, Sanchez intentionally goes a little bit deep there perhaps, or does he? We're not quite sure, but everybody going a bit deep. It's going to be 3 wide here coming out to the corner, and almost 4 wide now as it's a squeeze, and a bob and a weave, and Indian Harrison Scott gets squeezed back a little bit as we are Bruno Ciccoli gets on through, and well, Alex Cayon goes high. He's going to lose a lot of momentum here, and Sanchez in the end by going deep at turn 7, well by design or not, well, it's definitely worked out a treat as me, while Bruno Ciccoli now goes up the inside of all of them. He takes the lead of the race in towards the chicane. They go 3 wide. Here comes Harrison Scott. The inside is contact. It says Ciccoli on around, and Harrison Scott takes the lead of the race. And right now it's going to be one last sprint, one last charge to the finish line as they make the way through. Ciccoli has dropped out the running order, and for Harrison Scott right now, can he hold on just for a little bit longer? He intentionally goes to the middle of the road. But here comes Alex Cayon. He is looking. He is watching as Ciccoli toes the pit lane. One last run of the flap. The checker flag is almost there, and here comes Cayon. He's going to go to the outside. Here comes Proud. Here comes Sigurdsson as they all make the way through. But who's going to do it? Who's going to win it? And in the end, it's Alex Cayon who takes the win over Harrison Scott, with Chris Proud going all the way through to 30 and ahead of Simon Sigurdsson, with Daniel Sanchez in the end for all the laps he's led. He only was rewarded with 5th place ahead of Rene Sandoval, and it'll be none other Philippe de Souza ahead of Rocco Cribel, with Lewis Goff in 9th, just ahead of Santiago Aguiar in 10th, and then we will have Henry Howarth in 11th place there, just ahead of Philip Varleman, who comes on through in 12th, and in the end it'll be Andre de Soute right behind him. Emir Sonmez the end takes 14th ahead of Jack Grunwald, with Owen Lund there in 16th. Behind him it's Adrian Korozowski, and then we do have Ewan Langley ahead of Harry Bartle, with Sebastian Bach in the end. He will be coming home in what will be 20th. Here comes Bartle firstly. Both of these drivers right now trying to make it to the finish on the lead lap, and just in front of Bartle there, I do believe that's Ivan Rybachenkov with his repaired car. He's back out there, which is absolutely great to see. So he's carrying his way on through as well. And as he makes his way around the banking, well, right now Rybachenkov here, despite the way it started today, he's still going to finish it either way, and we absolutely love him for it. That's what we always love to see as he gets ready to make his way across that line. And in the end, well, you will see there what will be your 19th place finish alongside of Harry Bartle, and then we've got a bit of time before we do get to Sebastian Bach, and it has not worked out today yet for your number 2 driver, but still he finishes this race in 20th place. Wow, ladies and gents, what a final lap, full of drama right at the end. But the biggest drama on that final lap, well, we take a look back at how that lap played out, and it all started, of course, with Alex Cayon and Harrison Scott trying to work together. This is how they began it, but the big contention point, of course, was when we did see Daniel Sanchez in the end go deep at turn number 7, and, well, exactly what did happen there is the big question mark, and the changeover was this. As they made the way out of the corner, well, Sanchez did hold his position as everybody scrambled like mad to get on through. Sanchez in the end put himself in the middle of the road, and Bruno Ciccoli, meanwhile, went down on the low line. But as he then tried to come across, Sanchez right to the wall, and Ciccoli in under braking, 3 wide there, and contact issue with Harrison Scott sent him onto the path for Daniel Sanchez, and that relegated him out. Harrison Scott, meanwhile, then was leading for a brief moment, and then it was all about Alex Cayon trying to get the best possible run. And here we ride on board with Cayon in this replay footage, and we can see here gradually building that speed bit by bit as he got closer and closer and closer. And in the end, going to the outside. He had the overspeed, but it was close because he had behind him a little bit of attack there from Chris Prout. And as they made the way to that finish line, well, Caron and Scott, they were side by side. But it was Alex Caron who took the win and just did it by the best part of 100th, if not that. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look back to your live pictures because the race is over. And let's take a look at those race results subject to Eddie Stewart's inquiries. And in the end, for our Week 9 Strength and Field race at the Daytona International Speedway's road course of the 2026 Season 1 campaign of the iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT, here on iRacing, we got to see Alex Caron for 07 Racing take the win by 34 thousandths over Harrison Scott, and the British driver not quite able to snatch away the win, which the Italian was able to do so. Meanwhile, Chris Prout there doing a brilliant job, the Oceania region driver taking home third, making it smooth. But Alex Caron, the biggest gain of the ball, coming from 16th to that win, but what a podium there. And it was only a further half attempt back to Simon Sigurdsson for RS Competition Esports, who looked so confident midway through the race in trying to take the podium, if not the win. But the Danish driver in the end forced to accept fourth place. Daniel Sanchez, well, you got to feel for the Spaniard because he led every lap of the race, minus the one that mattered most at the end, that final lap. And after was that contact between himself and also the Argentine of none other than Bruno Ciccoli. It all went wrong. But to be fair, I think it feels as though he was an innocent bystander in that one, and some would be inclined to agree. And it didn't quite work out for him whatsoever. Rene Sandoval took 6th place in the end, the Rebellion GT3 driver. Just ahead of Felipe de Souza with Rocco Crubel, Luis Goff and Santiago Aguilar round off that top 10. And the Uruguayan driver in the end in that 10th place just ahead of Henry Howarth. Best of the rest with Philip Varleman coming through to finish 12th, ahead of Andre Nasuti. And it was Emir Sonmez and Owen Lund round off the top 15. In 16th, it was Jack Grunwald ahead of none other than Adrian Korenzowski. And then we did see Ewan Langley in 18th place, a comfortable distance ahead of Harry Bartle and Bruno Ciccoli, with Ciccoli in the end having to tow to the pit lane after the last lap incident. Outside that top 20, meanwhile, let's not forget about our other finishers. We did see Sebastian Bach be your last lead lap finisher, and it was 4 laps down to the repaired machinery of Ivan Rodchenkov, and the American driver then being followed up by the retirees of Harry Yardley-Rose, Rafael Pinheiro, and also Gabriel Guidel, with the Brazilian drivers there both being caught up in the opening lap incident, the turn 4 hairpin. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what a race, a memorable one at Daytona for all the right reasons. And as our racing action comes to a close, congratulations to our podium finishers. And as we do take a breather before getting ourselves set for the next week ahead, let's tell you a little bit about our title sponsor of this series, and that is none other than CONSPIT. If you are looking to take your sim racing to the next level, then why not consider CONSPIT? As the pro driver's choice of sim racing hardware, CONSPIT offers one of the most comprehensive lines of hardware products to sim racers around the world. Whether you're in the market for wheelbases, steering wheels, pedals, peripherals, or rigs, CONSPIT's extensive experience in the motorsport industry means every one of their products is fine-tuned for success at the highest level. But do not just take our word for it. We're brand ambassadors including 2022 Grand Prix Macau GT Cup champion Luo Kaliu, 2022 Porsche Carrera Cup Asia champion Liu Ye, 2022 Chinese Touring Car Championship champion Rodolfo Avila, and 2023 GT World Challenge Asia GT3 AM Cup champions Climax Racing. You shall be in pole position for victory when you invest in CONSPIT's hardware. If you'd like to know more, be sure to head to conspit.com today. And so, with our time at Daytona complete, we're going to head to Sebring next time out, ladies and gentlemen. We stay in what will be the US state of Florida for week number 10, but we make our way to the old school runaway tarmac and concrete slabs of Sebring International Raceway. You can catch all the racing action live from circuit side in our next strength field race on Saturday the 21st of February 2026. But of course, it's been an incredible race at Daytona. For who exactly will take flight and get liftoff at Sebring, well, that's what we're going to find out then. Until then, this has been the iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. You've been tuned into a Paul Walsh production. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, have a great rest of your weekend. And most importantly, as always, ladies and gentlemen, remember to stay on track. Good night.